to not be first?
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Johnny Escott for IFL TV Ones to Watch. I'm joined by GB Podium Squad member, Mr. Ramtin Musah. Ramtin, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good to hear you. I'm great, thank you, mate. So let's get straight into it. Talk to us about your childhood. Where did it all begin for you?
So for me, it all began in Ghana. I was born in Ghana, raised by my dad and my grandma. But when I was around, I think 5, 6 years old, I moved over here because my dad met my stepmom at the time, and she was actually from England. She was from a little town called Congleton. So my dad moved over here, and then not long behind him, I moved here as well. I've been to and from a bit, but as of I think it was 2012 or 2011, I stayed. I literally lived here for since then till now. But I do visit quite often. I try and go. My dad goes twice, 3 times a year, whereas I try and go one every year or every other year as possible. But it's hard when I'm busy and all the training and boxing. But yeah, I try and go back as much as possible.
And how did you find that move? Obviously, young age, 6 years of age. It could have been quite tricky. Did you kind of settle in straight away, or was it tough?
It was a bit tough. Obviously, like you don't really know anyone. It's completely different environment. School's different, everything. But like it was a blessing. Obviously, like you get a lot of benefit to living in England. There's schools better, everything, cleanliness, food. It's just it's there's more opportunities to better yourself over here than over there. So once I got going, it was all right. Like I'm quite a friendly person and quite open, so it wasn't hard for me to make friends and everything. And I've enjoyed living here ever since.
So when was it that you first got into boxing then?
So I first stepped into a boxing gym around the age of 12. Where I used to play football, and all the lads at football used to go to boxing. They're like, "Oh, it's great fitness." So I went down to the boxing gym, and then yeah, my dad took me there once, and yeah, never took me again. I didn't live far from the boxing gym, so my dad's whole principle is that he doesn't like the thought of forcing your kid to go. If like because it wasn't far for me to walk or get there, or I could always get a lift. Like he didn't think he needed to be there to hold my hand through. He didn't want me to feel like I had to go. If I wanted to go, I could go. It was just whether I wanted to go. Uh, but yeah, so I went, and then for the first probably say like 3 years, I didn't really take it that seriously. I didn't have my first fight until I was like 15 years old, which is crazy. I was 14 turning 15 actually. It was it was actually against I think it was actually VIP. That was my first boxing show. Yeah, so that's how I kind of got into boxing really.
And what age was it where you thought, look, like I can do this as a career, like I've got potential to go full time with this?
So it all started as like all I wanted to do was win a regional because I used to see the Northwest region badges on people's shorts. So it's like I won my first fight, then I wanted to win regionals. I won regionals, and I was like, oh, like want to become a national champion. Tried, didn't get it. Tried again, didn't get it. Then I won nationals, and I was like, oh, that's sick. And then I had the opportunity to box for England. I had a few issues with like getting a British passport, but I was able to get one and was able to go to European Championships. So and then I think it was like one of the tournaments, I won gold, and I got a message of like I think it was like Queensbury matchmaking or something like that, and then they were like, or if you ever look into turn professional or anything like that, definitely drop us a text or something like that. And it was just like at that point, I was like, oh, like there's actually people like interested, and this was like I was only like 17 at the time, 17, yeah, turning 18. So I was like, there is an opportunity to actually make a living out of this. And then I had an invite from GB to come on my first assessment. I came down, so I was 17, turning 18 at the time, did my first assessment, but I didn't get on. I got Lewis Richardson got picked over me, so I went back to the drawing board. They said I hadn't had enough experience, and which I didn't own. When I had my first assessment, I'd had under 30 fights, and I don't even think I'd had a senior fight yet. So like at the time, I was very like upset and I was a bit disheartened. But at the time, when I think about it now, looking back at it, I was probably not ready. I was definitely not ready, especially knowing what's out there now, and obviously boxing at the highest level as an amateur, knowing what's out there, I was nowhere near ready.
And you mentioned you obviously eventually got on the podium squad and joined the likes of Fraser Clark, Chevron Clark, the McCormacks, Ben Whitaker. How was that? Because obviously they were quite established names in the amateur scene then. What was that like training
Yeah,
alongside them?
yeah, like it was great. Obviously, like I looked up to all of them, like Chev, Fraser, and Ben helped me out a lot when I first got on the program. They kind of like I lived in a house with them, so they all kind of like took me underneath their wing, and then like they just showed me the ropes. Like in a couple months of being on the program, I went to a training camp with them, and then yeah, they just help guide me on like on my journey so far, like being just day to day how to live on a program, how to train, how to look after your body, eating. Just gave me advice on everything and how to like use all the resources that GB had to offer.
You've obviously fought some good names in the amateurs. I mean, there's some established pros like Aaron Bowen, George Liddard, Bradley Ray, who you've beaten. Who's been your toughest test, do you feel, in the amateurs?
Yeah, there've been a few tough fights. I remember my fight with Aaron, that was a barn stomach, but I think physically, Brad's was a very like physical fight, and that was a tough. I had to really grind that out. I had to bite on my gum shield. I think I was dribbling blood, and it was a proper,
It
it
was
was a
close.
proper
That
like
I was at that.
yeah,
Close. It's a good
there
fight.
was a month, yeah, and especially like at the time, I was like, I need to like, because Brad was the Manchester boy at the time, so I was like, I really need to put and put the shift in and yeah, and get the win. And I dug down and I felt like I did enough to win, and obviously the judges thought so as well.
So where you're at now, you're going for a place at the Olympics. I mean, you're in a very, very talent-packed division. There's obviously 5 of you going for one spot at the Olympics. How do you feel like that's helped you? Do you feel like the competitive side of it's got the best out of you?
Yeah, so it pushes you like you've got no space to be like slacking or anything like that because there's other people waiting to take the opportunities that you're not. But then also like it's just about being like stay in your own lane, know when to go, know when to pick up, when to have a breather. Because like say you turn around and get injured and then they'll give the opportunity to the next person. So it's just like staying on like little things like stretching, making sure you look after yourself. And as much as like little things like icing hands after like big sessions because you can't be bothered, but it's like 10 minutes out your time. If you don't do it and then you end up picking up a niggle, then you can't go to a tournament, you can't do a training camp, and then it's like they're more likely to look at somebody else because of little things, little minor things like that. Because they've got to look at like, will you be fine for five fights in a tournament? Because that's what the Olympics is 5 to 6 bouts for gold. So if you're getting niggles after one fight, this, that, it, and like it's highly competitive, like sparring is very heated even though they tell us like you don't get picked up sparring, you get picked up like competition, how well you will do. But it's just hard not to like get competitive. It's like I'm not letting him get a number on me. because I'm taking it easy. So it's just, yeah, but it's good though. Like on the track is competitive. Like you're lifting weights is competitive. Like you watching him and he's like, oh, he's squatting this much. Like, I reckon I could do a bit more, but it ain't about that. Like, everyone's training plans like specific to themselves. So, like, you just train what you're good at. You try and optimize what you have, and obviously improve on what you don't have.
Obviously, you're quite a tight knit group as well. So I'm guessing most of the lads you're quite close, you're good mates with. How's that? How does that work? Like, obviously, you're all going for one spot. It's
Yeah, like it's a bit weird concept. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and say I'm the best of friends with like Sam and Taylor and the other lads. Obviously, I'll speak to them when I see them and say hello, bye, that. Like, doesn't really go much further than that. But then, like, other people are a bit more friendly. Like George Grotty is quite friendly. We have enough conversations and stuff like that. And then, like, a weird concept is like me and Connor are good friends. We're both at 80. But I actually live in a house with him. He's actually currently next door. But we're really good friends, like, because at one point I was 75 and he was 80. But I've just learned to differentiate it. Like he's still my friend at the end of the day. But if I get in there, like, yeah, if sparring gets very heated, like he try and knock me out, I try and knock him out. But we understand it's nothing personal. It's just business.
you kind of mentioned it there. Obviously, this Olympics, they've narrowed the weights down. The weights, there's not as many spots. How's that impacted you?
Yeah, so it as much as it didn't actually impact me that much because I was currently on my way moving up because I was struggling 75. I'd been 75 since I was like 18, no, 17, yeah, it was around 17 years old to like 23, and I just outgrown it. I was finding it really difficult. Like my quality of life outside of boxing wasn't very good. I couldn't go for meals. I couldn't do this. I was going home on the weekend. I was training so I could eat, and it was just like it was getting really really hard, and it was just like I really wasn't enjoying boxing at the time. And it's like after fights, I wasn't even ballooning up. I was just naturally sitting at 80, and then I have to come down. It was like every single time I had a tournament, I was like 80, come down to 75. And it was just like, it just got on worse and worse. Like the week before the fight, I was like good 2 kilos over. And it's just, yeah, it was just becoming more and more uncomfortable.
So, onto your plans for after the Olympics. Are you? I'm guessing you're looking at turning professional eventually.
Yeah, I'm looking to turn professional eventually. Like I'm just taking it one step at a time. I'm not looking too far ahead. I'm looking at obviously getting picked for the next qualifier, hopefully qualifying, and then going to the next Olympics. That's my aim, and that's all I'm looking at the moment.
Away from boxing, I've heard you do a little bit of public speaking here and there. Just talk to us about that.
Yeah, I try and do as much as I can, obviously to inspire the next generation of not even athletes, just the next gen. I go to schools and everything like that, just to do a little bit of public talking, public speak. Just to talk to them about everything, maybe not about boxing, but obviously just understanding that if you've got a dream or aspiration that you want to achieve, you just got to work hard towards it. Like, and I never thought I'd get here, but I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. But it's just like it's all about baby steps and believing that you can do it.
And last of all, if you've got one bit of advice for a youngster who's not yet into boxing, but they're thinking of going down to the gym, what would you say to him?
100% go down to the gym. Like, I don't know how to describe the gym environment's the best thing. Everyone, you're all a team in there, like the coaches, everybody. Like, it's tough. It gives you discipline. It keeps you fit. Not even just for like, say, you could use it for football. You could use it for everything. You could use it just for general health and everything like that. It's just a good sport to be involved in, and it teaches you just the art of self-defense, how to look after yourself in case there is an altercation, or just have confidence in yourself that if someone starts on you, then you can back off and be like, actually, I don't need to prove anything to him or her or whatever that's going on. Like, it's just, I'd recommend it to anybody.
Ramtin, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, mate. I wish you all the best. Hopefully, hopefully you book that spot in Paris next year and obviously kick on in the pro ranks. I'm sure you're going to be a star. You're a very talented lad. I know that for a fact. So yeah, there's a big future ahead of you. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, mate.
Right, thank you. Really appreciate it.
To not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,